Sahana bhavatu Sahanau bhunaktu Saha viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us, may He nourish us, may we acquire the capacity to study and understand the scriptures. May our study be brilliant and may we not cavil at each other. Om peace, peace, peace unto us all. So I'm going to do study circle and whatever we learnt till now, until chapter 7, we want to discuss that first. So, how we practically applied many of the things that we learned from chapter 1 to chapter 7. I don't know whether we can go to that level, but at least even if we do one or two verses and how we understood, and that's kind of the thought process I was talking to our president also. So in that sense, I mean, first let me start and then probably everybody can just chime in. The first chapter, that is the Arjuna Vishada Yoga. That's what we discussed. So it is what we understand from that Arjuna Vishada Yoga is, first of all, why it calls a yoga, because he's despondent, he's not knowing anything. But we call that as yoga. Yoga means union. But it starts there because that is the time he identifies the problem, what he has. So in our life also, we have to first identify our problems. We don't know what is the problem, then we cannot solve it. So he understood the problem, the dilemma that he is going through, the confusion. That's what finally he expressed that in a verse, that is to the Lord Krishna about Karpanya dosho pahatas swabhava prichami tvam dharma sammoda chetaha yashreyas anischitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam, which is basically he's saying he's confused, he doesn't know what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, he doesn't know. Please, O Lord, command me. That's what he's saying. What I should do, and I surrender. So there are multiple parts to it, which Narendra uncle went very elaborately, and in that particular verse. And the main thing is that he identifies at that point of time, till that time he was thinking that, oh, it is Sri Krishna, it is my friend. But then that particular verse, he became a student and he considered Lord Krishna as his guru. And then he said, you command me, I will do whatever you say. So that is the first verse that we, from the first initial chapter, that he actually tells so many things in the first chapter. But then that is the end. It's actually that particular verse is in the second chapter, but that is considered still the Arjuna Vishada Yoga part of it. And that's where we understand first is confusion, identification problem, what is right or wrong. And then he has this it is a God's grace that he had Lord Krishna nearby him to ask. And of course, we don't need to worry. We also have that same, the Sai Krishna with us. Anytime we can ask. So that is kind of thing that happens for many people. Many times we don't know which is right, what is right, what is wrong, what is right, what is wrong. We always have that question. So now I open with that situation and how, many times we first is identifying the situation and how we went to the Lord and we had thought about it. and we can discuss that.
Sairam, for that, I wanted to bring up is sometimes even though we know there's a problem, but we don't really, we're in a denial. We don't acknowledge. We try to make up so many other excuses, and I think not only knowing that there's a problem, but also accepting there is, and this something has to be done.
That's right.
Sorry, Sairam. I think one of the big things we've emphasized in discussing Gita Vahini and really even the story of the Bhagavad Gita is that every day is Kurukshetra, right? We all have these battles every single day. I'm just going to say, just from a practical standpoint, so for me, recently, it's been like our recent government election that we've had and kind of the process to that and the outcome. Because I remember praying and saying, okay, Swami, I think we learned our lessons the first time. I don't think we need any more lessons now. Can we just have peace? Can we just have that? But then as we got the results and we just kind of thought about it, I have some friends who are, they're very spiritual as well. So we just had conversations about this. And I was like, well, now we learned our lessons. So it's time to put them into practice, isn't it? Just kind of how we carry ourselves. Because, and that's what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. What's happening, what the external circumstances cannot impact how we go about our dharma. And our dharma is really the guidance that God gives us. So for Arjuna, he has this, the dilemma is this battle he's having with his cousins and how he feels that, these are my family members. I can't kill them. This doesn't seem right. And I remember, some of the specific things that Lord Krishna said is, he goes into a lot of detail about Atma and the permanence of Atma and how all the physical, lives are actually impermanent, but Atma cannot be ended. Atma cannot actually be killed. So when that physical life comes into your path and maybe it's time for that life to end at that moment, the Atma still prevails. And truthfully, it's what connects all of us and it connects everything. And Lord Krishna goes into great detail about that as well. He also goes into a lot of detail about how we sort of, as humans, how we can go about our dharma without sort of being swayed in this direction of the world, and really understanding our purpose through understanding God and understanding God's presence and importance in our lives, which is such a wonderful thing that we all get to come to a satsang and we get to participate in this kind of a conversation, because then hopefully when we're here and we're participating in this, it's easy for us to easier maybe for us to take it outside and distribute what we learn, and hopefully other people can also receive that as well. And maybe there's a domino effect of, love and dharma. So hopefully that's what we're able to do by learning what Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna.
Anyone else about the situation first? The problem, identification of the problem. This dharma is not easy, I'm telling you. It's very subtle. Sometimes what you think, this is what I know we think. And actually, many times when we are with Swami or we read scriptures, and also we see so many times that it's different times how So is this right or wrong is a very, very difficult question, because we think this is right, then it might. The problem is identification with the body. So that is what immediately Krishna goes in the Sankhya Yoga. Hey, first identify your true nature. So that could be a solution, but first the problem identification itself is the. And he had Swami. See, there is one little story that whenever it does this kind of thing, then we always have a story. But this is a real story. This happened in India. What happened was this, it's a very middle class family, I feel low middle class family, you can call. And he's a government employee, this man, very, very truthful. So in a government employee, in India, it is very tough to be truthful, because if you go to that office, everyone else is, that's how they are. They take bribe, and that's how it works. I don't know what the way it is, but it happens there quite. But this man is very, very, very truthful, and he doesn't take any money. He goes follow the process, the files 1, 2, 3. People cannot bribe and change the process or whatever it is. So, and he held some important. It's the position where he has to make some recommendations to the higher officers. So that's not his position, but he never did this. So he was always stayed in that same poor way how he was doing, and his kids were learning in the public school, and that's how it was. So the kids grew up, and that man got suddenly some attack, and then he passed away. So the family was now, in a very tough situation. But somehow, they were coping up, and the kids, the daughter wasn't happy at all with her father, because the daughter thought he didn't have any savings for them. So it's basically zero savings. How do you expect? So what kind of father? If he had accepted bribe, I would have been rich. So it's father's mistake that I didn't have the money and I cannot go to some good school. And so somehow she went and graduated, and then she was applying for jobs, very struggling, and suddenly some job she applied. She went there. So it's a company, and then they were in the interview panel. Some interviews came up, and then they saw her resume, and then she was basically sitting in the interview itself is a big thing, because she was really not expecting that. Then she was very much against her father. She didn't want even a picture of her father to be in the home. That's how she has been. But that happens. Then in the interview, they were looking at the last name. So this man asked, for the interviewer asked her, where did your father work? Then this lady, now she has to say he was the government servant. He's no more now, and she didn't want to say anything further. Did you know what your father did? And something he was a little bit more, it was a little bit irritating for her. But anyway, she said, then that man said, this company is here today because of him. She couldn't believe that. He said, what are you saying? He said, your father is so truthful. When we were struggling, when we went and to this government office, he made sure that everything to follow the process, and ours had technically good stuff. And then we got the contract, and from then on, we didn't look back. And it is because of him, our company is here, and because of him, We don't even look at your resume, we appoint you. That time, she understood the value of truth. Thing is, why I'm saying this story is many times we don't understand why this happened, but the most important thing is to follow the values. So that's a good message. I want everybody to speak now. Siran, you want to?
So, Krishna, you gave one good example about values. We see a lot of people around us, right? In society, if you really think of the most respectable people in society are the people who follow values. Nobody cares about, materialistic way, right? How rich they are, how poor they are, But still, people, fail to follow certain people. I don't know why. I always think that, every society, everywhere around us, people who follow values, they get the highest respect. No matter, how rich they are, how poor they are. Nobody cares. So that's the greatness. So we need to observe more of those samples, examples, and follow those.
It's a good.
I have a question. What's an example that you've seen that stands out to you as somebody who does exemplify values like that, and kind of somebody that gets a lot of respect?
So just a simple example, right? So a person who has money to eat twice a day, out of that, if you see somebody suffering on the street, just giving them $1 from his pocket, there is no better rich person than that guy in the world. For me, that is richness. Everybody thinks the same way, right? When you see somebody like that, you feel that, oh my God, such a noble person. By default, it will come for every person. For me, that's the real value. So basically, like you said, life is a battlefield. Every situation, discrimination is the most important thing. What we are doing is right or wrong. Bhagavad Gita says the same thing all the time. Just apply your discrimination. Forget about for a few minutes your family or other family. What is good, what is not good. So if you start applying that factor, no matter whether your family are at trouble, you will make the call, though they may hate you at some point in the beginning, but they will love you. Like the example Krishna mentioned. It's all about apply your values, wait for time. When time comes, they will realize. That patience is something everybody has to, learn, right? So, and practice.
Sairam. So for the based on Nirupama's and Chiranjeevi and Krishna's conversation, two things I want to share is so that when you look at the snapshot of any situation, we, with our limited mind, we interpret, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, all that. But right, the fundamental values we follow. But I think also what Nirupama said, me too, I prayed, Swami, give the best leader that could really impact the world. There's so many people get affected. So because somebody told me, yes, you can pray for Swami, ask for a good leader. And then similarly, as Nirupama said, me too, I was was very difficult. But I think to take next step, I always have this footnote. I think I even shared about the surrender. The footnote is, yes, you ask Swami what you think is the best at the given situation or even a big global level. But that's not, I mean, the outcome is different. So then you have to, as you said, you do all your dharma, then you bow down and say, yes, you gave this, no questions asked. We're going to get through this with your help. So that, I think Arjuna realized this is really the toughest situation. I don't know, I'm confused, but you tell me what to do. But the part I really like about even Arjuna, that's why otherwise Bhagavad Gita wouldn't have happened. He asked so many questions. He wanted to know exactly what does that means. He didn't follow very blindly. Otherwise, Krishna would have gone through this. He could have probably covered in 2 chapters and be done, right?
If it is Bhima, it would have been 1 sloka done.
Right. But he's keep asking, what does that mean? You know, what is dharma? So that's, I think, what's a beautiful thing is just here in satsang, talking about sharing, that makes it more practical to go do our
Clarifications. No, I didn't finish the last part of the story. The thing is, once she heard about that you got appointed, we're not even looking at your resume, because why the person who made the decision, because she's coming from that family, she also should be that kind of truth and values. But here she knows that she hated that. Now after joining, she understood values are so powerful. So she transformed, and she really worked hard with that values and made them proud. What I'm saying is that, so it gave an opportunity for her to change and also, transform. The opportunities for us also comes many times. We have to catch them, identify, because suppose let's be a situation where Arjuna did not see Lord Krishna as his guru, as God. Suppose if that is the case at that moment of time, that he didn't realize it, then this Bhagavad Gita wouldn't have happened. He would have been doomed, right? So that situation, it was his grace. It was grace of God that he realized, and he asked the questions and he got the answers. And again, there's a lot of goodness in him that made also, because it doesn't happen just like that. So much goodness you have to build up to get to that stage of being close to God like that. So again, as you said, Auntie, that situation comes and we have to identify that situation and use it and take the right decision based on the dharma what Swami has given.
And I think there's a lot of emphasis in Gita, Vahini, and Bhagavad Gita on really making the most of the action without focusing on what's to come of that action as well. So that, I think that's a lot of what we discussed here. And then it's also kind of what's to come in future discussion.
No, the first chapter, the first sloka itself starts, where the first thing, that is the Dhritarashtra's first verse. He's the only one verse he says. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre mamaveta kuru. So he's basically saying, what is my dharma? Then in that itself he's saying, Mamaka, my sons, he's saying. And Pandava's sons, what are they doing? The moment there itself, the discrimination, he doesn't have that discrimination, that my sons and their sons, that he already had that selfishness in him. And in that question, what answer it is, right? The whole Bhagavad Gita comes to explain to us what is our dharma. Again, you have anything to say? Anyone else to share? Yes, please. No, here.
Sorry, I was thinking of a Chinakata the Swami said about I don't know if it was Shivaji or another ruler. Probably, I don't know, but there was a ruler who saw there was an an actor, I think, but like he came to the court and he was disguised as a like a dancer, and he was showing tricks for the ruler, and the ruler wanted to give him something as a prize, and the actor accepted. The next day, the actor came as a Adi Shankaracharya, and we all know he was like a sannyasi. He was a sannyasi, and he was a renunciate. So when he was showing this acting, the king who recognized him still gave him some wealth and some prize, and because he was acting, I guess, like he said, no, I can't because I've surrendered everything to Swami and to the Lord, and I can't accept any of this. So the king left it as is, and he asked, like, why yesterday you asked, I forgot to mention, he asked for the money and the king gave. So why today you're asking for no money, but yesterday you asked, like, for some remuneration? The actor said, because that day I was doing my dharma on the stage and doing what my role told me to do. I had to do this for making money, but the next day, today, I was doing it as a monk. I needed to be detached from everything. I can't accept anything. So that was like a Chinaka that the Swami said, wherein just whatever role you're doing at the present at that moment, we just have to do that and not try to overstep the role. Just I don't know what I said made
No,
sense.
that's very good example, and that's what Swami expects us. You're an actor, then you just do the acting, best way of acting, and then leave. Don't get attached to anything. That is what Bhagavad Gita. I mean, the chapter also we are reading, right? So basically, first thing in the second chapter itself, he tells that very clearly to discriminate, and then once you know this is what you're acting, then it's all action. Basically, nothing is real. So what is the point? Act well and move on. That's a very good point. Very, very good story, Chinakata. Thanks for sharing. Any other comments on this? Okay. No, then let's go to the second chapter. We are talking about jnana. There's a lot of points that were made. And there is one chapter where when a series of slokas that is being discussed, which is the most important, is that Sthita Prajna. He is asking who is Sthita Prajna, what are his qualities. And then here a lot of qualities that is Swami is explaining. I mean, the Lord Krishna is explaining about, how will it be, how he will be completely no desires, and how he will be not attached to anything. So like what he said, that's basically the qualities that's being explained. But before even that, once this particular verse that Arjuna said that, I surrender, the first thing, the way that Lord Krishna addresses him is, hey Muda, you're fool. That's what he's saying. Ashochastam prajnavadam. You're thinking like you're very like a pandita. You're not pandita. Pandita means he's not even bothered about the past or present. He just moves on. So Why are you? So he's making him up. So first thing is somebody is so kind of like, he doesn't want to do anything. I'm really, completely confused, so much anxiety in it, and doesn't want to even talk. To make him wake up, raise up, the only way to tell is to tell, and also he's a Kshatriya, this Arjuna. Somebody tells him, hey, you are a useless fellow, you are a fool, then immediately, hey, how do you say it, right? You'll get up. So to wake him up, he puts him, and the first verse itself, he is telling the truth right away, not mincing any words there. So for us also, the most important is many situations we do see ups and downs. Sometimes it's too down. Why is it, Swami? What is this? I've seen people, fighting with Swami. So, no, Swami, I will not do. No, I don't like this. This. No, we have all moments of our lives. But in that situation, also, the most important this is the story that Chinnakatha, what he explained, that we need to stick on. Hey, that we are acting. This is not the truth. So that is, we have to constantly think about it. That is one of the important thing. The second thing also is about, we didn't come to that chapter, which is chapter 12, which is the bhakti, where you will chant the name of the Lord and how you can basically get rid of that anxiety. So there are multiple paths that's been discussed, but we were discussing about main path of jnana and karma. These are the two things that we talked about in the first 7 chapters. And also the gunas and understanding about the gunas. So in that sense, anybody wants to share any stories or any experiences, welcome to share, please. Because three main things: jnana, karma, and the gunas.
I just want to make a quick comment on something Brother Krishna said. He talked about the first chapter, the king Dhritarashtra, how he said, my sons, their sons. And when you move into the second chapter, Arjuna, he throws his weapons. He's like, I don't want to fight. And he's so distressed. And Sanjaya, who's telling the whole story to the king, said, look, he threw his weapons. And the king was so happy. He said, this is victory.
The war is over.
Oh, yeah, this is victory for me and my sons. How it just shows how, not just physically blind, he's so blind because he's thinking, okay, this is my victory. And Sanjaya was, what's wrong with him? Does he not know the Lord is on their side? So, and this is not just a story, from the Gita. This is real life, because this is happening every single day. When one person is suffering, the vice of greed, the jealousy, the other person is instead of being sad and sorry, for that person, they are happy that, that person is suffering, and they feed off of that suffering. And then, Brother Chiranjeevi mentioned about the virtuous person. And we are fortunate when we are amongst, ourselves with the Sai devotees, we see someone suffering and we reach out to them, versus the other half who have not been really brought into the spiritual world, or they see someone suffering and they are happy about it. So that is the real world, correct? Right? So these are the two types of people. We feel sorry, we try to do our seva and help them. And then there's the other person who, like the blind king, who sees someone suffering and takes advantage of that for their own victory. So.
The term for that is called schadenfreude. it's a German term, but it's like people that takes this king, the blind king, who takes sort of pleasure that Arjuna is suffering and, throws weapons down and is like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't want to do this. And he's having that battle. So that's, that it's such a fascinating concept. But there's also sort of being happy in other people's happiness too. And I think probably with, like, as the message that's really sort of prevalent is the non-dual, the oneness that we all share. I think when we see each other as one, as ourselves, as we're all sort of reflections of the divine. When we recognize that, then it's easier to be happy when someone's happy, and maybe have that empathy when people are really truly suffering, instead of feeling like, oh, good, it's just like you run into that at work or something, right? Like, or just every day, like, oh, that person didn't see the pink jacket over there, so I'm gonna get it. That kind of thing.
Sainam, so, well, like what you three were mentioning, I was thinking you were going to mention this too, but another feature I often see is people often say, oh, that's sad. Like, they have pity, but sympathy, but they don't have the empathy. Like, there's a little bit of difference. Like, they say, oh, that, I don't know, maybe they are truthful about that, but they don't really, I'm not saying they're saying something on TV, they really can do something, but like they hear it, but it's like a dry kind of a feeling. And so like I often see that around people, and like it's, I have more to say but I forgot, but like sometimes like we need to try to pray for that person. At least prayer is better. And I've seen like in Disciple, it's like a common story is like if one student did not get a place in a school, like maybe in Swami school, I've seen like I heard Swami, the students' parents would pray that whoever, and it's genuine, whoever gets that rightfully gets it, or like they even when before they realized that they didn't get in, like they prayed that the right person or like the other person gets it. They pray more for that other person than their own child. Like those kind of things are really common in disciples. Like that kind of empathy is needed, and like not like a Gita or how I described it.
My God, is well said, actually speaking.
That's
That's the
excellent.
right thing, to right attitude to have the empathy. It's not
Right.
sympathy, because one time it so happened, I don't think many people know about the Swami and Kasturi's, Professor Kasturi's story. Actually, there was one man who lost everything, and then finally he had some little peanuts to eat or something. He was eating. So the Professor Kasturi saw him and was so sad, and then he was going a little bit, disturbed. And then Swami saw Professor Kasturi, and the professor asked him what happened. He was, oh, this man, Swami, he didn't have anything. Poor guy, he's eating this thing. I felt, okay, did you give some jaggery or something to him? Because with that he can eat. You didn't do anything. You just came here. What kind of sympathy you have? He said, what this, you didn't help. If you have something really painful, then you have to help. You didn't help. So what is that? So it is very, many times that, like he said, even if you cannot help, if you don't have, prayers is the best way to. In fact, we used to get many emails also to our Sathya international organization. Please pray for us. Please pray for, some such emails would come. So immediately in our contents team, okay, let's pray for some time for these people. It's going, that doesn't matter. We just, that whole thing is that they wanted something, that pain. So we are part of that pain. So let's pray and pray to our Lord, and He knows how to answer it. It's not that Lord doesn't know, but the prayers for others definitely helps. It's a very good, solution, and it's an important thing to have that empathy. Any other stories or experiences?
Sairam. So you also brought up the gunas. How do we tie up the gunas? One of the thing is so actually when you're sattvic, that's why I think we're such a mixture of all three gunas. At what stage or what situations have you handled the whole thing, and how truthful you are when you're really pushed to the corner. And also, we're so good in, if some neighbor's problem, we have all the solutions. We're so good at, as you just said, that sincerity is not there. For them, we give all the list. But if it happens to us, totally different, two sets of rules. I think to tie up the gunas is, especially when you're trapped into that rajasic and tamasic thing, I think intensely, you can't, even if you put black and white, you're going to say it's red and blue. So you can't see the truth. So these phases people go through, what I'm trying to say is we can't really judge them. I know they're trapped, Swami has to say, sometimes we don't know, because the reason I want to say is the last two satsangs we had, Narendra Redana shared those stories, Kamsa and Ramanasura, all these people, if you look at them, they're the worst. They're killing, murderers, right? But on the other hand, all the prior lives, whatever they've done, so that they reach divine. So who are we to judge anybody? We don't know, looking at these snapshots. But on the other hand, if we get trapped into this tamasic tendency and rajasic tendency, we're in that negative trap. Constantly we see others' mistakes and not being sincere.
No, that's true though. That the thing is, see, we cannot take those three examples and generalize sometimes. The each one's life, it's God is the one who's based on many other factors. This gunas, you can see how many permutation combinations you can put with those three gunas. So what I see is that, as you said, we cannot judge, which is very clear. It's not judgment we are talking about. In this case, being empathy, not thinking that what am I going to do, whether he's not that particular person is not seeing the truth or not. Just my dharma is to just help. But one discrimination is important. Again, fundamental discrimination. Is it going to help only that particular person or family, or it's going to transform and it's going to be helping so many people? That discrimination we should always have. Just go blindly help. For example, Karna did. But what all he did is useless, literally speaking. He may be a wonderful person, good person, but what all he did is disaster. Really, right? I am talking about now Bhishma himself. Take upon him. He may be he gave the greatest Vishnu Sahasranama to this world, right? So even then, even for him, we are not judging, but he was with the adharma side. So I think it's not the judging. The most important thing is to understand we are on the dharma side, we are following the dharma. I think it's time right now. So 8:15. One last, if it's 2 minutes, 1 minute, yeah.
like extrapolating what you said, Uncle, like he was just sitting in the court while his own kinsman was being humiliated, Draupadi, and Swami, I think, mentioned it where like, does karma affect everyone? Like, what about the two guards that are like just sitting in front next to the nobleman, like Bhishma? Like, are they going to be punished, or is it just that they had to protect the Bhishma? They're not supposed to go save unless they're ordered. So like, unless you have the power and you know you have that authority, like, then you should go. And Bhishma had that. Like, he had that option and choice, but he chose to relentlessly violate it. And it might also be because of that, like, tamasic food that he took, and he told everyone on his deathbed, like, he had the negative blood in his body, and that from the evil food and being in the bad company, it just made him forget everything about dharma. And because he lost all that bad blood, now he has good blood. He now realized his mistake.
Thank you. We will continue next week, and we will now end the session today. We had a wonderful discussion. Thank you.